Hi, I'm David, your strengths coach. Have you ever experienced a date night disaster? When my wife and I were first married, we completely lived in the world of date night disasters. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's a really awesome solution to that, and it lies in your strengths. Here's what we did. When we were first married, everybody kept telling us, keep dating each other, keep going on dates. Well, that sounded great. The problem was, whenever we would go on dates, we both found ourselves arguing at the end of them. Neither one of us was really happy with the way it went. We would always go someplace to eat or go out someplace that evening. Maybe we would go catch a movie even. All the things we used to do before we were married. The problem was we came back and away from those nights really frustrated with one another. The exact opposite of what you're going for when you're going on a date. So how is it that we went from that to many years later to having a successful recipe for dates? Well, we discovered that it was through our strengths that the key to having a successful date was there. So what did we do? Well, we came up with a recipe that worked exactly for us. Podcasts, coffee, and questions. Now, those three things were unique to us, and here's what they meant. Podcasts, we would listen to a podcast together at the same time on a topic that we were both interested in. Why a podcast? Because it engaged my learner strength. And that was a way that I would get excited and interested in having conversation and dialogue. The second thing, coffee. We were at the coffee house. We went to a place at a coffee house where my wife felt comfortable and distraction-free, where she really felt like she could be present and in the moment with me and listening to the podcast. That really spoke to her adaptability strength, which is really centered around being present and in the moment. The third thing was questions. I would ask her very interesting and in-depth questions about what she thought about the podcast afterwards. And that really spoke to my wife's relator strength, which is all about getting to know somebody and being known on a deeper level, sort of this reciprocity. That was a recipe for a successful date. Now, you don't have to have the same date. In fact, the same date may not work for you. What's going to work for you and your significant other is to discover what your strengths look like in your dating experience. So the first step to doing that is to first discover each other's strengths. You need to know what one another's strengths are. We took the Clifton Strength Finder through Gallup, and my wife and I discovered that I had learner as a top strength and she had adaptability and relator as top strengths. So we actually discovered what one another's strengths were. The second thing we did was we had a discussion about how to bring those strengths into our date night experience. We talked about what was important to us and what in those strengths, ways that we could see those strengths coming alive in a date night experience. And the final thing was we focused on those strengths that helped us deepen and develop better relationships with one another. Not all of my strengths I used to deepen and get to know somebody better on a one-on-one level. Same thing with my wife. So by focusing on learner, adaptability, and relator, we were able to lean on and use the strengths that we use in everyday life to actually build relationships. So that was our recipe. That was our success to going from date night disasters to successful dates. If you're ready to do that, I challenge you to go out there and just find some time to write down that, meet with your significant other, take some notes, go through those 3 steps that I talked about, figure out what works for you, and move away from, stop having those date night disasters and start having more successful dates. If you're ready to take the next step in figuring out what strengths means for you and what it means to become your best, head on over to strategicinitiative.com. We'll see you there.